Greetings and salutations, my name is Ahrtgames, and this is a bit of a prelude video towards a Let's Play that I will be doing. I've kind of committed to it now. The game is installed. Oh dear God, what have I done? I will be playing a game called Hellgate London, which I absolutely despise. It is my most hated game of all time, but I thought it might be therapeutic, and if it's not therapeutic, it might be entertaining to witness the playthrough in its more or less entirety, hopefully, of this particular title. So that's what's going to be happening. I hope you can live with that. I hope that I can live with this myself. I doubt it. I suppose we'll have to see. But I face myself with a dilemma. Because I'm playing this game for your benefit rather than mine, I need to decide which class to pick, which faction to play in. So I am going to, well, provide a bit of a lore and gameplay discussion on each of the three major separate factions, because there are 6 classes, 2 in each faction. Now all the factions fight together, but they have different mechanics, more or less. More less rather than more is certainly the case. But they also have different stories and not in-game, but different backstories, which you don't usually get. But because I've read one of the books, why do I hurt myself so? Well, because I've read one of the books, I thought I'd provide something of a lore discussion on their backgrounds, gameplay discussion on their mechanics, and then leave the choice in your capable hands, that you can perhaps torment me even more. Because what's more fun than that? Without any further ado, I will get right into that, and so let me know in the comment section below if you would like me to be, well, whatever you would like me to be. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you at the other end, and good night. The first and most prominent of the factions, the faction that in fact existed originally in the ongoing storyline, which I will perhaps go into more detail at a later date, are the Templar. Yes, the original Knights Templar. Gone underground many years ago, rather than ruling the world from the shadows, Hellgate London takes a different route. They learned of an pending demonic invasion and have progressed their society. Their secret underground society of people who essentially hide beneath the cities of London and, the cities of England. They've built their society based on the idea that if people knew what we thought, we'd be considered mad and locked up, and then our work would not be done. So it's somewhat admirable, I suppose. These are the fighters of the world. They don't believe so much in ranged weapons. They like to get up close and personal with a sword or two and a shield, although they are not entirely opposed to bringing sidearms and the occasional grenade launcher to the fray, because, well, grenades filled to the brim with alchemical fire can purge the demonic forces from our world. That's the theory, at any rate. Over time, they've advanced their technology with a very specific goal: defeating the pending invasion that is aforementioned. And since, well, at about the date that the Hellgate opened, the Hellgate of London opened up to try and swallow our world whole in demon fire, they had nanotechnology, power armor, and all sorts of fancy nonsense. Compressed space magazines for their weapons, even. That's some kick-ass tech, if I do say so myself. And the very first thing they did was step to the fray. I mean, sure, they tried to get civilians out of there, but their goal at the end of the day is to close that Hellgate, to end the demonic invasion and the cosmic horror that is upon us. And that's what they do. Swords swinging, armor shining, and being entirely filled with electrical circuits and nanotechnology and awesome cool things, they leapt to the fray and do battle with the demons. Gameplay-wise, they are the up-close brawler class, although there are exceptions. They can use a wide variety of typically sidearms, but, you know, a minigun pistol is still a minigun, even though it is a pistol. And having two of them, like, it's entirely possible for them to be ranged combatants. Let's call it that. And they all have a wide variety of skills based around the concepts of getting close and dirty. The Guardian is the primary Templar. They are perhaps the original Templar philosophy. Typically wearing heavy armor and with a bent on healing and auras, although not necessarily. They tank. Tank like absolute champions. That is their purpose in life, that is their goal, and that's what they get up to. That's what they do. Beating things down with shields and slicing them apart. They are, as far as I'm aware, unable to dual-wield swords, although I've been proven wrong in the past. Which brings us, of course, to the Blademaster. The Blademaster is the DPS equivalent, or the same gameplay style, run in and murder everything, but instead of bringing a shield to the fray and beating things down with that, they tend to just want to slice it apart, and they're all about fast initiates and fast escape styles of gameplay. High damage, a little bit of AoE, guys with two swords. What more do you expect? So there's that. However, they are not the only ones fighting the invasion. Shortly after the initial assault made by the demonic forces of Hell, and again after the subsequent evacuation of civilians, in the most part, from the active combat areas, the Templar stood their ground and fought as is appropriate. But in came another group. A group who had been there almost all along. Turns out, you can't keep a secret underground anything secret. It just doesn't happen. Eventually, someone finds out about it. And military forces from, well, the entirety of Great Britain, MI6 and such, MI7, with all the secret spy nonsense, have been keeping an eye on the underground Templar force, and whilst they generally thought that they were radicals in the past, when evidence starts to point towards it being a real thing, when a Hellgate itself opened up and Sidnoy stepped into the world, rained fire on London, it started to get obvious that maybe these guys weren't the crackpots we thought they were. Maybe keeping an eye on them was a good thing, because we've adapted their technology, that which we could get our hands on, to better suit our needs. We'll fight with them, we think. We will be the marksmen and the engineers of the world. We will apply science and reason. We are the ex-military operatives. Really, we are the military operatives, because, well, in a world ravaged by demon fire, everyone is serving in some capacity. They bring guns and grenades to the fight. And that's more or less mechanically what they do too. Primarily acting as a first-person shooter mechanic, although they can go for third-person if they prefer. They run around with submachine guns, sniper rifles, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, pistols, miniguns of the larger variety, wrist-mounted rocket launchers so that you can dual-wield them, bolter pistols taken almost directly out of, well, other games that I probably shouldn't mention. These guys are the ones who do the damage from a distance. But they do it in two different ways. There's the engineer corps, of course. These are the geniuses of the world. These are the guys who've seen what the Templar have created and decided, I can use that. I won't use it their way. Their way is daft. Why would I have power armor and get myself in trouble when I can build an army of flying robots that shoot lightning? Seriously, makes an awful lot more sense. I'm gonna do it my way, guys. And that's what they do. Contraptions, technology, pseudo-scientific technology at some points, because the blend of magic and technology is truly a thing. But they deal with their problems with their gizmos. On the other hand, though, there are the Marksmen. They don't have time for gizmos. They don't have time to be tinkering. They'd much rather be out in the field, slaughtering demon spawn by the dozen. These are the Marksmen. Rather than relying on a bunch of contraptions, they simply shoot whatever gets in their way. Gameplay-wise, both work in similar fashion. They're both all about the shoot, but the engineer is generally more frail and more interested in creating a swarm of summons or technological companions and then backing away, relying on the combined DPS to deal down their opponents, where the Marksman is a stance-based fighter. They more or less drop into the scope, mow down everything on their own. Can surely get a little bit backpedaly, but who am I to judge? I'd run away too if I could, and shooting while running away is just as effective. I mean, after all, some of the things they're fighting were not meant for mortal eyes nor mortal weapons to deal with. So there's that. But in every world, no matter how grim, there are always radicals. Perhaps those who knew, just as the Templar did, that darkness and fire was coming for the Earth. They knew, and some of them even knew how to tap into it, even in the olden days. The psychics, the mediums, those who claim supernatural power, they tend to band together, form cabals to learn more about their professed abilities. Now, surely they weren't very capable, at least not in the early days. But post the opening of the Hellgate, post the demonic invasion of the world, their powers magnified tenfold. The influx of mana and magical energy into the world has allowed them to do so much more. And with more recent successes against the demonic forces, they've been able to take the devices that empower the demon's magic and apply it towards their own aims, to allow themselves to become masters of the arcane, rulers of this new world. The Cabal, the many Cabals originally, but now the singular Cabal, all believe, more or less, in a single philosophy. Mankind has succeeded and survived and taken control of more or less everything in our way. We are the rightful rulers, and this demonic invasion is just the same. We will survive, and we will take control of this force. They cannot beat us. We are better than them. And we will learn their powers and use them against them until they submit to our obvious superiority. More or less, that is the case. But of course, there's two ways to go about it, generally. The summoners believe in the bind and control of the demon forces. That's what they do. They summon. They take the lesser demons of the world and learn to control them, to bring them forth from hell and force them to fight against their own brethren. Whereas the Evoker is much more egotistical. Rather than getting a group of misshapen minions to do his bidding, he calls the forces of war and death, the elements of the world, against his aggressors, destroying them before they ever get close to reaching him. Gameplay-wise, they generally act as a third-person shooter, more or less. Their focuses allow them to attack with arcane energy, but it is, well, merely another thing that you can shoot. And they do have a variety of projectile weapons available to them when they choose to not focus so heavily on the arcane. However, unlike the marksmen and engineers of the world, they have access to a wide array of extremely potent spells. Rather than simply lobbing a grenade, they lob fire and death and lightning and some purple energy of the abyss. So that's a bit of fun. And they can wreak absolute havoc, particularly in a wide area. So there's that. We live in dark times. Hell has opened up and rained fire on the world, all but destroying all hope of resistance. The very forces that we fight, well, they believe we are defeated, that our days near their end, ever since our glorious charge against the Hellgate in the early 90s. Now, well, it's been a near decade. The world has been plunged into fire. There's nothing left. There's no chance, there's no hope. All that is left to do is wait until the world burns. But we'll damn sure go down with a fight. Damn sure. We won't let them take us easily. We will continue to fight until every one of us is bled dry, and we've taken as many as we can with us. That is our goal, that is what we accomplish, but how shall we do it? How shall I defeat the demons? A guardian, perhaps? Marksman. Engineer. Evoker. Summoner. Blademaster. What would you like to see? I leave it in your very capable hands. I'm sure I will be able to provide exactly what you're looking for, to save the day with whatever it is you choose. Thank you all for watching. This series will begin as soon as I have enough votes to make a decision. Good night.